Happy Valentine's Day. It also happens to be the second anniversary of the invocation of the Emergencies Act Justin Trudeau used to crush a inconvenient protest for him. Well, the good news today is, well, they're getting sued. Today on X, Stevland Ambrose saying Happy Emergencies Act Day, everyone. Just a reminder, a week before the Emergencies Act, the Ottawa protest had been declared legal by an Ontario Supreme Court Justice McLean. And conversely, Justice Mosley of the federal court recently declared that the invocation of the Emergencies Act had been illegal, and on multiple grounds. That being said, we're looking at this as a day of history. Tamara Lich even putting out on Twitter saying Happy Emergencies Act Day. I hope you all look back and fondly remember how your government shot you with rubber bullets and tear gas for your own good. This is, you can't even, what do you even say to that? What do you even say to that? This is the reality of life in Canada anymore, but there's some good news today. Well, it turns out they're getting sued, and it's not just the government, it's many agencies are getting sued here, private and public. Keith Wilson tweeting this out earlier today, breaking on the 2-year anniversary of the federal government in illegally invoking war measures against its citizens and targeting key protesters in Ottawa by freezing their bank accounts. Like, what world do we live in where in a free and open society, they're freezing bank accounts of people they politically disagree with? Yeah, that's right. That happened 2 years ago. Tamara Lich, Chris Barber, Tom Marazzo, Danny Bulford, and other protesters who were targeted by Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland have filed lawsuit against the federal government. Section 24 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms gives Canadians the right to sue their government for damages when charter rights are violated. That's right. You may have heard a story about a guy who got $10 million because apparently his rights were violated. Well, look out, buddy. Look out. This is coming your way. Doing so affirms the seriousness of respecting charter rights, and it's intended to deter future governments from breaching Canadians' fundamental rights. The lawsuit seeks $2 million in damages. I don't know how Justin Trudeau or any other politician is going to learn their lesson if they don't personally pay, but we'll see what happens in this lawsuit. Now, as well as Keith Wilson, Jason Lavigne here posting on X for immediate release, February 14th, 2024. Lawberg Ector LLP announces legal proceedings against the Trudeau government. Edward Cornell et al. V. Justin Trudeau et al. V. and a bunch of numbers, string of numbers there. Today, Lawberg Ector LLP commenced proceedings in Ontario Supreme Court of Justice Ottawa on behalf of 20 victims of the Trudeau government unconstitutional misuse of the provisions of the Emergencies Act in February 2022. The plaintiffs in this action seek compensation and related relief arising from the unjustified and unconstitutional actions of the Liberal government, as well as the actions of certain police agencies and Canadian financial institutions. So it's not just the government that's getting sued in this action. If you were a bank and you thought, oh, goody, we get to freeze people's accounts and we're, just doing my job, right? Just doing your job. No, unlawful orders are still unlawful orders, even if they're given to you in a situation where you feel like they had some, there's no I didn't know what the law was. No, if it's unlawful, then you work in a bank, you know what's unlawful. If this was unlawful. Anyway, Canadian financial institutions who followed the unlawful orders of the Liberal government and other defendants who participated in or promoted these actions. So if you did something bad, it might be coming for you. This is the immediate release of the lawsuit. And yeah, democracy is only as strong as its commitment to the rule of law, this statement says. And when the government decides that it is not bound by the law of Canada, the resulting unlawful action not only breaks the law, It undermines and degrades the very democracy that put that government into power in the first place. But this was the habitual line step of the Trudeau government. They had been doing this for several years, especially during the pandemic, as they were going after people, and every province was doing this. And we're seeing courts turning around and saying, nope, the measures that you took, the decisions that you made, they were ultra vires. We're learning these new legal phrases now. They were ultra vires, meaning it was outside the scope of the law, outside of what you're allowed to do. That's right. The unlawful actions also undermine the integrity of our community and tells Canadian citizens that they can no longer rely on the government to protect our liberty and freedom, but instead they should be fearful of the government that considers themselves unrestrained by the rule of law. This is not about any single instance of free speech or any particular protest. It is specific. It specifically does not matter how anyone feels about the Freedom Convoy protest. What matters is the obligation of the government has to the people and of this nation to obey the law. This litigation is about that obligation. So no matter what you thought of the Freedom Convoy, because I know there's a lot of people that, and I know people that disagree with my take on the Freedom Convoy. Obviously, we're still friends, people that haven't completely lost their mind. But that being said, it doesn't matter. If it was legal, it was legal. And if the actions that the government took were illegal, well, that just happens to be that. Now, you can go over and support this effort, of course. The Accountability Project is a federal nonprofit with a mandate to advocate for human rights, including raising funds for public interest plaintiffs and class action lawsuits. So I would encourage everybody to go over there, check it out, and see for yourself. Some news agencies already are jumping on this story, but others are largely ignoring it. I noticed it was hard to find any articles on it today. I wanted to also include in this video a blurb from, well, none other than Eva Chipiuk, who was representing them at the POEC, famously confronting Justin Trudeau in her cross-examination. And she had this to say, and I'd love to share this.
It's Valentine's Day, February 14th. 2 years since the federal government, Justin Trudeau's government, invoked the Emergencies Act on peaceful, lawful protesters in Ottawa. I've been asking the same question since day one. What was illegal, and when did it become illegal? And I still don't have those answers yet. Also, we have a decision from the federal court that found that the government's actions were unconstitutional and illegal. They overstepped their boundaries, and invoking the Emergencies Act was not justified. At the Public Order Emergency Commission, I made a statement. The Prime Minister may have heard some of those statements, but he certainly wasn't listening. So I'd like to read some of those statements again today. The government's response to the protests by invoking the Emergencies Act was a further reach in power over people instead of power by the people. In response to the unprecedented unison of voices of many Canadians, including a voice by way of millions in donations to the cause, the Government of Canada refused to engage and listen to the people. Instead, by invoking the Emergencies Act, the government stepped even further into their oppressive governance by quashing the most fundamental right that belonged to a Canadian democracy. That is to come together in their nation's capital, in front of Parliament, to engage in dialogue with their elected officials. Protesting is, in fact, the people trying to have a dialogue with their government as a last resort of engagement, when all other avenues of discourse have failed or have been censored. A healthy democracy demands continuous engagement between people and government. And when the government uses violence to assert its power over the people, the fabric of democracy is torn. The fact is, it does not matter which side of the protest you are on. To be Canadian is to value human dignity, kindness, community, compassion, and love. It's not normal to hate and divide. The government does not define us. We do. the collective of many diverse groups across the country. The protest in Ottawa brought so many Canadians from all different walks of life together. It was an opportunity for reconciliation, for uniting, and forging relationships despite so many differences and obstacles. The protest in Ottawa gave people hope, and it humbled all of us. What we saw in Ottawa is emblematic of what it means to be Canadian, and that is what terrifies the Government of Canada. I hope you are listening, Mr. Prime Minister, because if there ever was a time for you to step down, now is that time.
Amen, sister. It is that time for Justin Trudeau to step down. People have had enough of him, and while every scandal hasn't done enough, while he's being sued, the government is being sued over the breach of the charter in this case. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about all of this today, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.